Welcome back. The National Youth Development Agency, or the NYDA, has opened the Youth Micro Enterprises Relief Fund aimed at assisting youth enterprises who might not qualify for other funds in various business rescue schemes during the lockdown. The NYDA says this fund will respond to challenges facing youth-owned businesses, such as the inability to pay employees and a lack of income, and in addition, assisting with the waiting periods for other funding mechanisms. Let's get a bit more detail about this. And joining us via Skype now, we've got the Executive Chairperson of the NYDA, Sifiso Mtsweni. Good to have you, Sifiso. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Leanne, and good morning to the viewers of Morning Live.
So, Sifiso, explain to us how this Youth Micro Enterprises Relief Fund actually works.
Well, as you said, over the last 2 weeks, there's been initiatives by government to try and alleviate and bring some relief to, distressed communities, whether it be business, whether it be, the indigent people in our country who have been hardest hit by this global pandemic. And out of all of those, we as the NYDA decided to say, let's have a specific fund that will look at youth-owned, enterprises, particularly micro enterprises, because sometimes when you talk about SMMEs, we tend to forget the other M, which is your micro enterprises. Your guys running a small, township-based business, whether it be a tire business, whether it be a small gym, whether it be, a confectionery where somebody just produces cakes and scones, and they make about 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 rands a month. And those particular young people, if you look at the schemes that are available, some of them don't really qualify because you may need to be UIF registered, you may need to be VAT registered. So we said as the NYDA, let's look into those young people. Let's assist them with their running costs, because this lockdown does not take away, some of their running costs. If you're paying rent or you're paying various utilities such as water, you have 1 or 2 workers, this will definitely impact you negatively, and we've taken a decision to come on board and assist those particular young people.
So, Sifiso, just to understand this, is this only for a youth micro business, this particular fund?
It's purely for youth micro business, those who are between the ages of 18 and 35. 18
and 35?
Yes.
Okay. And how will it be defined? I know you spoke to the kind of businesses that you will look towards, but let's perhaps maybe outline the criteria for funding.
Well, we've also eased the criteria. Obviously your business needs to be registered. Your business, both in CIPC and SARS, you must have existed for the last 6 months or so. You must demonstrate, whether through order books, invoices, that the lockdown has actually affected your business in a negative way. You must be South African, and you must be between the ages of 18 and 35. Now, how this works, because all of us are now working from home, so we'll process every application virtually. So young people are encouraged to visit our various social media sites, which I'll confirm towards the end. But you can download our application form, fill it in. Now, what we did is that in order to ensure a faster turnaround time, we will ensure that every application, if for instance you're in the Eastern Cape, your application will be processed in the Eastern Cape. If you're in the Western Cape, your application is processed in the Western Cape. If you're in Gauteng, and so on and so forth, so that we don't have one centralized application port that will take a lot of time to process. So we're really making this thing user-friendly, and we want to make sure that we process as many as possible.
Yeah. The funding, as we've heard, and we see it's capped at 10,000 Rand for every qualifying business. Why 10,000 Rand? How did that figure come about?
Well, as I said, we're looking at micro enterprises. So micro enterprises would be, your street vendors, would be, those people who probably sold hot food, township-based. We're looking at those guys who are selling tires in the townships. We're looking at those guys who are running small confectionaries, as I said. We're looking at those guys who are running community gyms. Now, if you look at those type of businesses, Those are businesses that make within the region of 5 to 10,000 rands a month. Now, those are running costs. Now, if you're running a business renting from somewhere where you so probably pay about 2,000 rands and you spend about 4,000 rands, whether on stock or whether on whatever maintenance-based aspects of your business, the NYDA comes in and actually subsidizes that.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why we're capping it at 10,000 rands is that NYDA has actually put forward a seed fund for this initiative, and we want to cover as much as 3,000 entrepreneurs across the country. But we are engaging provincial governments to say every province where we process a provincial government, whether economic development, must come on board, and so that we reach as many as possible. In fact, our ambitious project is that by the end of this, we must have reached at least 10,000 young people who would have, by the way, welcomed this type of initiative, judging by the applications that we're already receiving.
So we heard on Tuesday that President Cyril Ramaphosa announcing government will offer small businesses, also in excess of, within that 200 billion rand in loans from major banks. And my question to you is, will the NYDA actually get the funding for the YMERF fund from this particular amount, or is it a separate amount?
Well, this amount, Leanne, comes directly from our coffers. As you know, the NYDA runs a very successful grant funding program. And by the way, I must put it up front, this amount will purely be a grant. We're not looking to get anything back.
Okay.
The package that the president announced, which we welcome, looks into the broader SMME sector. And as I'm saying, our biggest worry has always been that when you set up a criteria for people to actually apply, you tend to forget those small guys. And where we coming in is actually to go and assist those small guys. I mean, every day, as you know, and you go to train stations, you go to taxi ranks, there are those young people who are there every morning without faith, and they are trading whether in airtime, they are trading whether in whatever small aspect that they are trading in. Those guys are actually sitting at home, and those are the guys that we actually want to come in and assist and ensure that we intervene on their behalf.
All right. Just let's get details from you. How do you apply? How can we get hold of these funds, which I think is fantastic for small enterprises at this point?
Well, Leanne, because as you know, we're now working virtually. Young people on social media, they can find us on Twitter. It's at NYDA-RSA. On Instagram, it's at NYDA-RSA. On Facebook, it's National Youth Development Agency, the full word. And the forms, it will be www.nyda.gov.za. You'll be able to download the form. It's a user-friendly form, by the way. And we always say that when people apply for funding, it's almost like performing brain surgery. This time, it's purely one form, one page. You fill in your details. Once you filled in your details, there are various email addresses attached. As I said, we're going to decentralize the application process. So if you're in Limpopo, you'll apply directly to Limpopo-based offices. If you're in Free State, you'll apply directly to Free State-based offices. And we're looking at a faster turnaround time. One thing that we'll do every week on Friday, we'll update, through our social media sites, all the beneficiaries that have actually benefited out of this fund.
Fantastic. Listen, thank you so much for talking to us. And I know what you're saying about being a brain surgeon and filling out some of those forms. My goodness, you eventually just give up. It's just all too much. So thanks for simplifying it as well. Executive Chairperson of the NYDA, Sifiso Mtsweni, talking to us about that National Youth Development Agency's Youth Micro Enterprise Relief Fund. It's aimed at assisting youth enterprises who might not qualify for other funds in various business rescue schemes during the lockdown. It's capped at 10,000 Rand per qualifying enterprise, and it is nothing you need to pay back. It's something they're going to give you, and this, I think, is absolutely fantastic. The NYDA has opened the Youth Micro Enterprises Relief Fund aimed at assisting youth enterprises, and the ages are between 18 and 35 years old, and they have to have been operating for 6 months. So visit the website and see if you qualify. Let's take a break.